Conor McGregor came from truly humble beginnings. From Ireland, Conor had the support of a whole country behind him. From nothing to a two-weight UFC champion. I really think everything started to take a turn after the Floyd Mayweather fight. But before we get into that, let's start from the beginning of McGregor's UFC career. Conor debuted in the 145-pound featherweight weight class, with his first fight against Marcus Brimage ending with a stoppage in the first round by knockout. His second fight would be against the former UFC featherweight champion Max Holloway. Conor would injure his knee during this fight, but still end up getting the win by judges' decision. Conor already had popularity in his home country of Ireland when he signed with the UFC, but after the Holloway win, Conor was starting to get noticed by the rest of the world also. The Diego Brando fight is when I really started to pay attention to McGregor's rise. The pre-fight interviews were different than everyone else in the fight game at the time. With most fighters respecting their opponents, Conor was calling what round he was going to knock out you out before the fight. Conor finished Diego 4 minutes and 5 seconds into round number 1 by TKO. It seemed like Conor got in his opponent's head before the fight even started. The Mike Tyson effect. His next fight would be against former UFC interim lightweight champion Dustin Poirier. The effect of his mental warfare was at its full effect in the build-up to their fight. Dustin would go on to say how has never disliked someone has fought more than Conor. McGregor would predict he would stop Dustin in the first round, and he did. A grazing shot behind the ear and follow-up strikes finished the diamond. Conor's next fight would be against the veteran Dennis Siver, another win for the Notorious. This set Conor up for a shot at the 145-pound belt against one of the pound-for-pound best fighters in the world at the time, Jose Aldo Jr. Jose would suffer injury only days before the scheduled fight, which left McGregor with no opponent. Chad Mendes stepped in and the UFC made the fighter interim title fight. Conor would face his toughest challenge in the organization so far, winning a back-and-forth bloody fight. At this point, every McGregor fan was ready to see him face Aldo and unify the 145-pound belts, and every McGregor hater was ready to see Aldo knock Conor out. The build-up for the fight was one of the biggest in the sport's history, doing a press tour unlike anything we've seen before. McGregor taunted Aldo every chance he could get. Every press conference and interview he was relentless. By the time the octagon door closed shut, Aldo was ready to go full force at Conor. Just 13 seconds into the first round, McGregor hits Aldo with a perfect punch for the knockout. The fastest knockout in a championship fight in the organization. Most people will never forget where they watched the Aldo vs McGregor fight. It will go down in the sport's history, a classic moment in MMA time. McGregor would go on to have 2 fights, with Nate Diaz back-to-back losing the first. He then went on to win the 155-pound belt against Eddie Alvarez, in spectacular fashion, with one of the best punch combos ever seen in MMA. Conor's story after this takes a different turn, next switching sports to fight one of the best boxers of all time, Floyd "Money" Mayweather. Conor would put on a good performance until Floyd finished him in the later rounds.